We're really moving to this sort of politics of possibility as it relates to our business. And for the first time in our history of the world, I think most of you know this, more than 50% of the global population is in our urban areas. So we need to take, sort of the beauty of the natural resources of the natural world and bring it into our urban cores, and that's what a lot of this initiative is around. So intrinsic sustainability, the way I want to define it for all of you, is a solid foundation and clear framework with which we can fully integrate sustainable practices into the operations of our entire company. It's really the single bottom line, and it's the other two pieces, it's the planet and the people piece that feed into that to create a better bottom line, kind of the no margin, no mission ethic that Hillary was referring to. But really, it's ultimately that financial bottom line that we're worried about. We think we can do better by integrating the other two legs of that stool, if you will.
So while the Cleveland Clinic serves a very broad international community, we serve one of the second poorest community within the Midwest. That we're going to set 4 goals. And those 4 goals are to be a high-performing organization, to become a valued referral center, to identify, develop, and promote talent, and to be a sustainable hospital. Do that, and in order for us to be financially successful, we have to be very sustainable financially, environmentally, and operationally.
So our look specifically at the environmental side of this, and what many people call sustainability or whatever you'd call it, has been really a tight-wire act, because not only are we looking at this internally, and we're looking at it from our 92 locations within the US, and what can we do knowing that we don't own any of our buildings, and this is something that our people coming out of colleges, we hire 3,000 a year, really want us to look at, but we have people who are on the other end of the spectrum who have been with the firm for years and years and years who don't want to go there. So how do we look at it from that angle? And then how do we also look at it from our clients? We have some clients who are very eager and have done a lot specifically around sustainability and do a lot for the environment that we want to make sure that we're supporting. We also have some that want to make sure that their business is not impacted by us pushing for any specific regulations. So what do we want to look at as far as auditing non-financial information? What do we want to look at as far as tax and the impact of offsetting? What do we want to look at from advisory, going in and deciding what the risk issues are in individual corporations?
Our preferred method, because it actually goes a lot further, a lot faster, is to work with companies collaboratively. And so, what we really have expertise in, our core business is understanding that supply chain, understanding forest management, understanding forest ecology, understanding what can be done, what the alternatives are. And so we work with companies in that capacity and then try to get them to leverage their buying power. I mean, one of the key elements of that, I'll just say, is having a company develop a procurement policy which encapsulates company values and gives them a roadmap for where they want to go and what they want to do.
Groups like ForestEthics and in the Environmental Defense Fund, and as well as smaller local environmental groups, have been a great resource for us when it comes to investigating the environmental performance and reputations of mills, better understanding endangered forests and forest certification systems, and calculating the environmental impact of paper. Since we've been using recycled fibers for quite some time, that wasn't an area where NGOs, took issue with us, but where we did require some pressure was our lack of a paper policy. And we now thank ForestEthics for pushing us really hard on this issue, but at the time we were really irritated and very defensive, and we didn't get it. We thought, we're doing a great job implementing our goals of we want high PCW, we don't want to be in endangered forests. We're working with New Page, to really further all these things. Like, why do we have to stop and write? Like, we just want to do it. So, but we did. We finally put the pen to the paper, and it's just been a great tool for us.
Some of the most profound change, the commitments and then in many cases legislated protection of all that land, that happened when, in large part, when the limited brands and forest ethics went hand in hand to the government of British Columbia and the government and the Premier of Ontario. And when we started advocating and being out there in the public space together that starts to really move the discussions.
Nice thing about it was their housing authority had done energy conservation in the past, but what they set this program up as a sustainable business. 2 years, 4 years. 4 years from the onset of this project, we're into it now, and they're still continuing to monitor what they're doing well, what they're not doing well, where they want to take this over the next 5 years. It's a, from my perspective, it's a remarkable accomplishment. But I think what we developed was sustainable relationships between a $110 billion corporation and the 8th largest public housing authority in the country.
So you get buy-in. People start to see that it's something that's benefiting them, but it's also something that they're a part of. And probably more than anything else that was with the project, that alone, I think, was a key component to making a project a success. Getting that resident participation. A second part of it, I think, was just the fact that Bill and I are here together as partners, even after the construction and everything else is gone. Where we sat down with the upper management of Siemens and we talked about, again, you're not just going to come in here and just do all this and not do anything for the residents. And they said that's not our intention. So they went out and they introduced us, the Housing Authority, to the 21st Century Grant Program, which is an after-school learning program to help kids be able to get additional tutoring and skills in the areas of math and reading. And in Cleveland, our proficiency test scores have been very low. We now have 2 21st century learning centers at 2 of our public housing estates. Siemens helped us with writing the grants. Siemens helped us with acquiring teachers that come in after their regular job to come in to a public housing site and help the kids be able to do their studies and improve in their grades. We did that last year, and this is our 2nd year in that program. Again, there are a lot of people who may just give the money, but they actually stayed a part of it. They've helped us provide science days for kids with our partnership with the Cleveland Public Schools, to provide science days where they send their staff out and educate people on science.
It can be very powerful if you're trying to achieve whatever outcome it is, to bring all the people, all the organizations that had a stake in that process to the table, because it keeps you honest when the going gets tough. And it's also a source of inspiration for solutions. And we came up with things that we never could have come up with alone.
We can do all the training we want. We can do all the monitoring that we want. We can have the best standard and the best management systems, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're working in an industry or in a country or in a region where there is no context to support that compliance, it's not sustainable. So we broke this down and we developed several different projects. SIMCAW is probably the most robust so far, where we looked at how do we foster social dialogue, how do we provide training for employers and workers, and how do we build capacity of local organizations that can support this work ongoing.
We have this rolling laboratory approach. Quite frankly, a lot of these things don't fit in our return on investment model as they stand today. We try a lot of technology. We have package cars, those little brown trucks you see, we call them package cars. We have some that go 6 miles a day, we have some that go 60 miles a day, we have some that go 160 miles a day. So a technology that works in the middle of New York probably doesn't work in the middle of Kentucky. And so the skill is never rely on one vendor, one technology. The skill is finding these different technologies, bringing them in, working with the manufacturers, a lot of times working with government, and trying to fit the technology into the space where you can use it the best and not use it in places where you can't. We're the largest purchaser of private alternative fuel vehicles in the world. We plan to keep it that way. And again, it's one piece of many that we do in combination with trying to be socially responsible, find solutions that we can afford economically, but also lift up, the economic, environmental, social all at once. And that's really the skill. We can't buy ourselves out of this environmental piece. We have to raise all three of them together. And the real skill is getting 425,000 people to think alike about the things that matter the most. And we spend quite a bit of time in that, and certainly engaging your community in the same way is essential to your success.